Welcome to FBB Forum. I'm very pleased to welcome the beautiful IFBB Women's Physique Pro, Alyssa Coppolino. Alyssa lives in New Brunswick, Canada. I'm sorry, New Brunswick, Canada, with her boyfriend. And she has competed as a pro in 2018 and 2019, and she appeared at the Olympia in 2018. I know the Olympia is coming up later this week. So welcome, Alyssa. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. It's a long time coming now, David. You've had all these amazing athletes on, so it's my turn. Hopefully I can slip into the mix there.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate you coming on board, and we've been friends for a while now, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So I wanted to start with just a few questions about what got you started in bodybuilding, and I was just curious what first got you interested in bodybuilding and what motivated you to start.
Totally. Yeah, so I think I started... So I played varsity soccer. This will be the not so Coles notes of how Alyssa started competing. But I played varsity soccer for my university back in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. And after soccer was done, I was just still way too competitive to just stop playing any sort of sport, any competitive sport anyway. And so I started to kind of dabble in weightlifting, and weightlifting sort of overlapped the end of my soccer career. So I was starting to learn about the deadlift and learn about squats and bench and blah, blah, blah. And I started to follow DeFranco, if anyone knows Joe DeFranco, but I started following Joe DeFranco, West Side for Skinny Bastards, which is a great program for anyone who's trying to start out getting strong in powerlifting. So it kind of has a mix of a bit of CrossFit stuff and mostly powerlifting stuff. So I started doing that. Maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe 2 years into that, I went to support a friend at a local bodybuilding show in Stratford, Ontario. And I saw the other girls and the other athletes walking around, and I thought that was just so way too cool. And I said, I'm going to look like that one day. And I dropped the powerlifting and I started training for aesthetics rather than strength. And the rest is pretty much history. Here we are.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
And I think you turned pro in 2017. Is that right?
Yes, I did. Yeah. I did. My very first show was, I want to say 2011. It's a very long time ago. 2011, and I did figure. I came 5th of 5, so I came last. And that's okay. Still qualified for another show. Okay. And then I did the year after. The feedback after that figure show was my physique was just too big. And I think that's when women's physique started to become a thing.
Okay.
So sort of the Dana Lynn Bailey era. So I switched to physique the following year and came 4th of 12. So I did better. And great. Then that qualified me for, back then it was Ontario Provincials. I don't really know where the equivalent of the NPC is for that, but I think it's just the next level. Sure. And then I did terribly, bombed it completely. It was awful. I was not in the right frame of mind to be competing then, but I wanted to just kind of persevere, and I shouldn't have. I should have just listened to my body and not competed. So I then had a horrible rebound after that, and then that's when I actually moved to British Columbia. Okay. And so then in British Columbia, I was prepping on my way to British Columbia, and that's where I won a regional show up in Fort St. John, which got me to provincials in British Columbia. And then I won the BCs or whatever you want to call it. And then that got me to, my timeline could be a little rusty here. And then I did nationals, and that's where I won my program in 2017.
Oh, that's terrific. Yeah.
So
quite a journey
I had
there.
a lot of trial and error until I kind of found my way. So power of perseverance, I guess.
Oh, I think a lot of bodybuilders do that,
Yeah, I think we suck. Unless there's those genetic freaks who just friggin' rise to the top, like a meteoric rise. Me, no, I had many humps.
Sure, I understand. When did you have a bodybuilding role model when you first started? And if you have, do you have the same one or a different one now?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I didn't have I was a little bit like blinders on. I was just like, this is like the physique I was looking for. I mean, everyone kind of grows up revering like Ronnie Coleman and Kai Green and, you know, Jay Cutler in those eras. You know, I had the Arnold Schwarzenegger bodybuilding encyclopedia. So it's like Arnold was a big deal. But as for females, I think it was like Nicole Wilkins.
Oh, yeah.
Like even bikini competitors like India Paulino at the time. Oksana Grishina was kind of coming up as well. And then like I started watching Dana Lynn Bailey videos before she was cool.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll say I liked Dana Lynn Bailey, and then I still like her. I think she's a fantastic role model for the sport. But like in the beginning, I was like all about it, and then she got famous, and I was like, I can't keep up. So
she's comes up a lot on this podcast, and she's such a huge influence. Iconic. Yeah, she is. She's a huge influence on so many people, like, which is
iconic as like as an athlete, iconic as like a business role model as well. Like she's like the perfect.
I need to get her on this podcast too.
You should try. Yeah. I think that would be great. Yeah, I'm sure she'll be a hard woman to get in touch with.
I know. Yeah, no, I would love to have her on.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I was wondering, I often wonder when bodybuilders start, kind of feeling comfortable in the gym, and when did you have your kind of first, aha, I belong here in the gym kind of moment?
I don't know if I can pinpoint an aha moment. I remember my mom got me some, and I think this was at the tail end of my soccer career again. I think my mom had bought me some personal training sessions at a Good Life. Like, here's like 6 training sessions. And I think I did like 3. And I thought the trainer didn't know what she was doing. And so I just kind of like did it myself. My boyfriend at the time, he was more familiar with the gym than I was. So I think I was just like slowly introduced in like more of like a private setting with people I knew. I don't think I ever had like I don't think I had one of those moments. I think I just kind of got introduced to different strength sports like powerlifting and strongman and then some bodybuilding. So I think I just kind of like developed in my 20s that was just part of who I was. I don't know if there was an actual moment. I was always into sports and athletics, so it just kind of like happened. Yeah.
Do you think that your soccer experience helped you kind of feel comfortable in the gym too?
No, I don't think they're related, but I think the competitive nature behind being a soccer player and then a bodybuilder, I think that's, and like accepting defeat and learning how to progress and getting better at a skill, I think that's where it helped me. But I don't think they had anything to do with each other. Sure,
I understand.
Yeah.
That's something I did ask you or wanted to ask you is specifically, did soccer kind of help to prepare you for bodybuilding and at least like the rigors of prep and competing, or is it just completely different?
No, because the way I had approached soccer back then was more like I'd have my like 3-hour practices and then my games on the weekends so I could eat whatever I want. And now as a bodybuilder, it's like still can't eat whatever you want in order to get the results that you want. So I think I had to break a lot of habits as a soccer player. Nutrition wasn't something that was prioritized when I played soccer. So I had to learn all those things. Luckily, I've always had an interest in food and nutrition. Like I did study holistic nutrition and I went to school for kinesiology. So I mean, that was just part of what I enjoyed. And then that was just lucky, I think. But I don't think soccer prepared me for anything.
Sure. Yeah. They're very different sports, I guess. One's team sport and one's
team
really
sport versus like you've got to do everything, right? Yeah. So I mean, like as a soccer player, you have your individual roles on the field, as you would know with your daughter, but it's not nearly as you don't have nearly as much responsibility as you do as a bodybuilder with yourself.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. And bodybuilding is just really tough. I mean, that's just an all-encompassing kind of sport.
24/7.
It is.
7.
Yeah.
It's like what you sleep, how you sleep, what you consume, how you train, even the people you hang out with or the social media that you consume as well is all very important. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
My next few questions are going to be about competing and prep. And I was curious, what has been your favorite bodybuilding show so far and why?
Ooh, Arizona Pro is probably my favorite one right now. Tim Gardner
Yeah,
puts on a killer show.
he
It's just
does.
organized and smooth, and he has so many people, like, high profile athletes show up to not only like organize but also to compete in. And can't say enough good things about that show. That was a great show. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
the
want.
Olympia was pretty okay too.
Yeah, Olympia's pretty awesome too. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I bet maybe you'll get back there maybe this upcoming year, maybe in a few years. We'll
Fingers
see.
crossed.
Yeah, fingers
All goes
crossed.
well.
That'd be awesome to have you
Yeah.
back. Yeah, and it's like I said, it's coming up the end of this week, so it's on everybody's mind.
Yeah, it's exciting. I have a little bodybuilding party with some of the local meatheads here that I have befriended. So we'll watch a very late night Olympia Las Vegas stream.
That's awesome. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Um, so your last pro show was in 2019, which I think was the Arizona Pro,
it
right?
was. Yeah,
Yeah. And you had good placings in 2018 and 2019, including the win in Vancouver and then Olympia appearance in 2018.
yeah.
So are you excited about potentially returning to competition in 2023? And what have you been up to in the interim?
I am excited, very anxious. Lots of changed in the world and in people's minds, I think, with the unnameable sickness that was going around.
Yeah.
For me, I think it changed my outlook on, this is going to get really deep, outlook on life.
Hmm.
Competing is still very important to me, but making sure that I have a solid foundation in terms of like my assets and my financials has sort of kind of taken over my priorities,
Sure.
because I've just learned that the world is not meant for people with no money.
Yeah,
And
sure.
the more
Yeah.
money and the more assets you have, the better you will, the more secure you'll feel. And this is going to get into like a whole like anti-capitalist talk. I won't go there, but but no, I've been training really hard, and I think my shape has changed for the better. I've had time to eat a little bit more and to focus on weaknesses. So I'm hoping that it can translate into a better showing for 2023.
That's terrific. Yeah. And when you mention finances, like, I don't know if a lot of folks know, but bodybuilding is more of a money out than money in kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah, it's very expensive, and especially
Yep.
as a female athlete, there's not a lot of kickbacks, right, that happen unless you're really petitioning for yourself and really putting yourself out there and winning shows. But in order to win shows, you got to spend money to win the money from the shows. So, and like do the right shows and hang out with the right people. So it's a lot of like who you know and how you show up. And
Mhm.
if you don't know those people and you're still showing up, it's not quite as lucrative as it would be for the guys.
Yeah, I understand. I think plus it seems like you outlay more money with like makeup and hair and
Yeah.
even the suit itself is expensive. The suits are
Yeah, I'm
really expensive.
blessed to have some suit makers in British Columbia still that treat me very, very well.
Great.
So if you can hang on to those connections and support them,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing, right? Though it's like a lot of these girls, athletes, are putting out their own T-shirts, like $25 here and there, like to buy them, right? Like a little
Uh-huh.
bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
Whether it be like an extra pack of chicken breast that week or,
Yeah.
and whatever. So, yeah.
I saw Melissa Tyke who's been on the podcast. She'd actually had her Olympia 2022 shirt
There you go.
and then
Yeah.
people are starting to appear with
Yeah.
that
And like I
shirt,
know
which is
like Missy
great.
Truscott has one, and then that Chelsea Dion bodybuilder who's
Oh
at
yeah,
both of those are at the Olympia this week.
that's true.
They've
Yeah.
got their own little gear. So yeah,
Yeah.
you do what you can, right?
Yeah, definitely. That
And
makes
hopefully
sense.
people give back in the meantime.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I think you're really well known for your leg development. So like what's your secret to building those amazing legs?
My big old quads. Sadly, I have no great pieces of information other than I was born with them. I mean, I played soccer, so a lot of running, a lot of pounding on the ground, I think helped, although it's not a body part that I need to work too hard to get them big. Like, they could be bigger, but I think if I get them any bigger, I think I start kind of pushing the envelope into women's bodybuilding, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I like the category I'm in, but I don't know, man. Lift heavy, squat heavy, whatever you can, heavy.
That's awesome. Your legs are really conditioned too, so you do a great job.
Yeah.
So what's the toughest body part for you to train, and what body part do you hope to improve the most?
I hope to improve the thickness of my back. I'd like to break my back out a little bit more 3D. So been going pretty heavy on some of my back days. It's so hard to pinpoint one. I could say all of them need work. I would say, this will be a humble brag, but I don't have as hard a time putting on muscle as I do losing body fat. So like my conditioning work is always way harder for me than my lifting.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of like where I need to always be on top of. Like, I can't afford to stuff my face in the off season or not do cardio in the off season because I will balloon up. So I just have to be like, cardio is my nemesis, but it's also my best friend when I do need it.
Sure, I understand.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think conditioning would be tough to do, to pull off.
It sucks. I hate it. Anyone who, whatever. People who like to do cardio, good on them. It is pulling teeth for me. So I bought myself, you can kind of see it, a treadmill and a spin bike this past winter because it is 5:30 in the afternoon right now, and it is pitch black out. So it's very hard for me to leave my house when it's dark and cold.
Yeah, I understand.
So, yeah, my best.
What's the temp like there now?
It's only like -3 degrees Celsius. And it's actually warming up over the night. It was like -10, I think, this morning, probably -16 or 17 overnight. And this is
really?
This is warm.
Oh no. Yeah, it's a little bit nicer in Florida, a little warmer.
Yeah, don't talk to me. Stop it.
That's why everybody's coming down here right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
So my next few questions are about fans and social media. And I was wondering, do you find it hard sometimes to keep up with social media? And do you find that a lot of fans, reach out to you by, not just by posting comments, but by DMs too?
Yeah, I don't have, as we've spoken before, I don't have a ton of followers, like not compared to some other competitors. I don't post a ton, and it's one of my less developed skills is posting. And I'm not that I'm a private person, but I'm also not like in your face, like, this is content that you need to see. I'm like, look at it if you want. Like, so I have a harder time gaining followers because I don't post that much about myself.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I find it redundant. I do the same thing every day. I eat the same every day. I train every day. It's boring. So kudos to those who can. I don't know if I get a ton of people who reach out. If there's been if you post something for me, or I have someone, or if I do a throwback picture, like, I'll have a couple comments, but I don't have a ton. That doesn't upset me in the least. But I mean, if ever I wanted to grow my following, I would definitely have to do better.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Like I said too, if you were to compete again this year, I think that would be a boost because people will be, following you and stuff then. And
hopefully. Yeah.
So,
and again, it comes down to me posting about it too, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
What is your favorite social media outlet and why?
I use Instagram for the most part. I got rid of Facebook just before 2020, right when Trump was really coming into his own there. And I got rid of it because I just felt like the content I couldn't control what I saw as much on Facebook. And I find with Instagram, I can control what I see. And again, like I was going, oh, there's Cliff.
Oh, there's Cliff. Oh yeah, he's a good doggy.
And like I said before, like what you consume is really important. And I think that comes down to social media too. And I was just consuming just negative stories, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I got rid of Facebook and stuck with Instagram. Never really was into Twitter, especially not now. So I stick with Instagram.
Instagram, I think, is the most popular amongst bodybuilders too, and
it seems so. And YouTube, if they have the someone to film for them, if they want to be editing and posting all the time. So
yeah. Oh, that Cliff is a cutie.
He does. Wants attention right now.
And I remember talking to you about Facebook a few years back, because it seemed like Trump was kind of making some of these racist folks like acceptable to say out loud.
That's it. And I was not having the racism and the homophobia, and it was just awful. So I said, bye, see it. And my life honestly has gotten way less stressful because of it. So
that's good.
Highly recommend.
I think that then Facebook makes their money by trying to get us to fight like that, I think. So yeah, it's just,
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably really not good for all of us,
Yeah, that's right.
My next few questions are about coaching. And so I was wondering, for women who are up and comers that are striving to turn pro, what qualities and traits should women look for in a coach? And I didn't know if you want to talk a little bit about your own coach too.
That's a good question. Yeah, I think it depends. I think you don't need to be afraid to shop around a bit. Like stick with them long enough to like learn something both about yourself and about the coach. But I think who they've trained with is important, right? Are they someone who just lost 50 pounds and then decided that they were going to start to coach people to stage? Or is it someone who did their first show and now they're all of a sudden coaching? Like, I think there are some red flags you should look for. But I think a knowledgeable background of the human body is important. So whether that be a certification, like a, what are they called? Sorry, I shouldn't swear on your channel. NSCM or NASCM or one of those other ones. I think a certification or a full degree, I think, is great.
Okay.
Not every coach has that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're someone like Justin Miller or Hani Rambod, like they might not have those, or Shane Hughley, they might not have those actual degrees, but their track record speaks for them.
Yeah, that's true. So, success. Yeah.
Yeah, I think some weird red flags you should look for. I think who they've been coached by is important. What their own, this is gonna sound shallow, but like what their own like body looks like.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, don't trust a skinny chef.
Yeah.
Because he's never eating his cooking, right? So
That's
it's kind of like, point. I'm not saying every overweight person can't not be knowledgeable, but it also shows just a sign of like respect for yourself when you're in a shape.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't come back to bite me, but I'm not trying to be cruel or mean, or I think everyone can have the same knowledge, but I think how you represent yourself. People always say like, don't judge a book by its cover, but like we all do.
No, I think that's good advice, I think too. And it makes sense, in terms of, and are you still working with Shane Hughley?
I am still working with Shane. Yeah, I know. We've worked 2019 till now. And I mean, like I pretty much took all of 2020 off and part of 2021. So I don't know if you count that, but 2019 and this year.
Okay, great. Yeah. I spotted him a few times at NPC Nationals.
Yeah, you mentioned that. That's cool.
Yeah. And he's had a lot of success, in terms of coaching.
He's got a lot of girls, and I think like his forte is definitely bikini girls. He's always been really good to me, and he lets me collaborate. Kind of like we bounce ideas off of each other, which is nice because I'm a control freak and I like to have some form of control. So he lets me feel like I do, and it's great.
Oh yeah. Well, you got a lot of knowledge about the body and
Yeah,
just from
yeah.
your background and everything too.
I
So.
think also just
Hmm.
like for the fact that I've been doing it as long as I have been.
Hmm.
Um, did I do that?
Well.
That was weird. That was me.
Oh.
Playing. I think I touched
No
something.
problem.
Um, yeah, I think just knowing how you feel is a big part of competing too, right? So, um, like I know I don't work well with certain foods, and so I can avoid them, and like he's not going to put them in my plan if that doesn't work with me, right? So I think
Sure.
being vocal goes back to like selecting a coach, but being vocal about what you're feeling is really important, and not holding back. For like anything from like how you're sleeping to how are your bowel movements, right? I think that it's all really important with how the body's working.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, I think it's good to have that knowledge
Yeah.
and like you said, for your coach to have that knowledge too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, you've been a coach yourself for a few years, and I was wondering if you could talk about your own coaching experience. How long have you been doing it, and
Mm-hmm.
are there any clients whom you're particularly proud of that you want to mention here?
Oh, all of them. They're all great. But I started once I finished my degree, my kin degree in 2012, I think I graduated
Hmm.
from university. And then 2014, I think, is when I started taking on clients. So it's been 9 years, right? No, 8 years. Um, and I've had a lot of different clients. I don't not take on any particular kinds of clients. I like the lifestyle type clients where it's just like
Yeah.
I just want to be strong and like look great and feel awesome. I like
Mhm.
that a lot.
Yeah.
If they want to go to stage or do a photo shoot, that's great too. It's definitely a very different mentality, both of those two. But
Yeah.
I've
That's
had a
true.
lot of a lot of great clients. Yeah, there's not one that I'm like particularly excited about. They all have like really great wins in each of their portfolios. So
That's terrific. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah,
Yeah. And no, that's terrific. Okay. Next, I just have some kind of miscellaneous questions to kind
yeah.
of end. And of course, you're from Canada and you live there now. And do you find it more challenging for Canadians to compete, versus Americans because there's just so many more bodybuilding shows that are held in the USA? So, what's your take on that?
Yeah, you're right with that one. I think there's a lot more opportunities in the United States for competitions, and like I know we don't pay per as a pro, we don't pay per show, but we pay like a yearly membership, right? Um,
Yeah.
and so when the promoters put on a show, they make their money on the amateurs, not on the pros. So
Yeah,
there's
that's
been
true.
there's been a couple shows here in Ontario and in BC that have slashed my category, women's bodybuilding, even women's figure.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah,
Wow.
and I mean that's now happening at some of the higher levels, aka the Arnold Classic,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Where
Yeah.
they're taking away, and I don't think it's for lack of interest. I think, um, I don't know. I don't. They think it's not a moneymaker. I mean, if you provide it, chances are they will come, right? Like,
Yeah, that's true.
right. And so maybe I don't know. I'm not a promoter. I'm not the one holding the purse strings. I
Hmm.
can't say, but I know that it is harder for me to pick shows here in Canada, um, especially now because I'm living in the Maritimes. Like now I'll have to fly to Ontario to do Toronto Pro, or um, really that's the only one that holds women's physique, and so the rest I have to travel, below the border to go.
Yeah,
So it just requires more money, as we've talked about, and more
yeah.
planning, right? And I've got to take a little bit more time off work, and
Hmm.
some places are drivable. Um, Flying in Canada is very expensive, so like we'll likely like drive, to Buffalo or to Maine or Boston or something like that to fly out of there because it's cheaper to fly. Like it's
Oh,
like
really?
all the logistics of competing is
Yeah.
what makes it challenging as a Canadian.
Yeah, I
There's a lot
understand.
more like planning and logistics behind it.
Yeah, definitely. I understand that. What about does Vancouver Island? Does that have physique? I
I
can't
don't
remember.
know if they're gonna have the showdown.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if part of the list has come up, not the whole list for 2023. So
Okay.
if it's
Yeah.
there, I'd like to.
Yeah.
But again, like, because that's Vancouver Island, that's like a whole other logistics trip, right? Because you got to go to BC and then you got to take a ferry. So it's like, that's more costs. Like, where sometimes I would just rather just be like, just get there, fly to Arizona or fly to Tampa or New York or whatever. So
Sure. Yeah, that's a pain.
yeah, it just like a little few more chess pieces to move.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least I'm glad that I think it's the vaccine restriction is gone now, so it makes it
Yeah, I think
easier.
that's obsolete anyway right now. For now, we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
The flu here, like the actual flu here, has been pretty bad. So, but I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that's what you get when you keep people indoors for 2 years.
Yeah,
We
that's
need to
not
be
good.
eating boogers and like worms and stuff to build up our immunities again.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, kids don't play in
They're
the
picking
dirt
each
like they
other's
used to.
noses and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh man. No, you're right. I think just kids playing in the dirt helps,
Yeah,
build
totally.
immunity too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I was curious, like, um, how do you think we can get bodybuilding shows on TV again? Because I kind of miss the bodybuilding shows that were on NBC and
Totally. Yeah,
ESPN
like I grew
back
up
in the day.
watching like the fitness competitions, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you know what? I feel like Kai Green making his like very small debut on Stranger Things was probably a good step. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
that movie that came out about um what was it? It was with Kalen von Moger. What was that one? And he played Arnold. What was it called?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember the name of it. I know what you're talking about
Me neither.
though.
So I mean,
Yeah.
like there are like small advances that are happening that might help.
Yeah.
I don't know if the world is ready for women with muscle still quite yet. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I
Uh-huh.
don't, and it's just, and to get political, that could also be again like the the transphobia and the homophobia and the insecure, like the alpha males who are all insecure about stuff, like that could be like stuff that's allowed to be like
Uh-huh.
on the internet could also be hindering that forward progress with the sport.
Yeah. That makes
I don't
sense.
know, that's just a theory
Yeah.
off the cuff, but I don't know, I would love to see a little more um special treatment, right?
Hmm.
Just some publicity outside of our normal, avenues of highlighting the sport. I don't know. That's a good question.
It's kind of crazy to think about like Ms. Olympia back in, I think it was 1990, was on live on
Yeah,
ESPN.
like it's so
And
cool.
yeah, and CBS Sports shows CrossFit, like why I don't
But
understand
that
like why.
absolutely, that's a great point.
Yeah,
That's a great point. I don't
yeah,
know.
it's kind of weird. Yeah,
And
I
maybe
think if it oh go ahead.
it might happen eventually, like you said, if CrossFit. I
Yeah,
forgot about CrossFit, but like if that, I don't know. Maybe eventually that's like the first like bigger stepping stone towards it. That's a
yeah,
good theory. Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping because I think that a lot of folks I've spoken with kind of got inspired to get into bodybuilding by watching ESPN shows, but
Totally.
it's really been absent from cable TV for
Well,
20
that's
years
it.
now.
Like
So yeah.
it's the next best thing to magazines, right? So, mm.
Yeah, I hope it'll get back, but yeah, we'll see. I was curious, what changes would you like to see in the NPC and IFBB? And, if you were in a leadership role, what would you do to make the sport better?
Hmm. I feel like that's a loaded question.
Uh,
uh,
it is.
I don't know if I have an answer for that one. I don't know. Like I don't see everything that goes on behind the scenes. Like all I'm focused on is like me, right? Like all I know is I'm looking at these competitors and it's like, okay, I have to kind of like bring myself up to that level. So
Mhm.
I guess in that vein, I guess I could say I think maybe there needs to be more clear lines between the categories.
Yeah.
Here's one in NPC, and I don't know if it's as prominent in the NPC, but I know it happens here at the local shows here. is if girls can compete and win pro cards in 2 different categories.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that blurred line comes in. Like a girl who competes in figure shouldn't be able to go and compete in women's physique and get a pro card in each category, because in theory, those are 2 different categories. So how can you look the best in one, but also the best in the other?
Yeah, good point.
That one's never made sense to me. So I don't think you should be able to go for your pro card in both. You could win the category, but I don't. But then you take away a spot from someone who does fit the look. So I think they need to stop doing that.
Yeah, I understand. I think that's a good point. And just for
again, it's like bodybuilding and women's physique. I don't think you should be able to get a pro card in both, because those should be very clear lines. Like, you're a bodybuilder or you're a physique athlete.
Yeah, it's come up on the podcast here before about
it? Okay, yeah. So I'm not alone on that one.
Yeah, having those clear lines makes sense.
Yeah.
And from a fairness standpoint, I think just being able to take 2 pro cards, you're taking 1 pro card away from
someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Now I was wondering, I know a lot of bodybuilders do, but do you deal with body dysmorphia? And have you ever sought any therapy for it? If you do,
I'm sure if I sought therapy for it, I wouldn't be competing anymore. I don't know. Like, I would say I don't know if it's body dysmorphia, but I would say I'm just very competitive, and I have this desire to be a better me every time. But that's also like in everything that I do. Right. So I think I'm just naturally competitive.
Sure.
And so it's like, if I'm going to drive, I'm going to be the best driver. Or if I'm going to, like, at work, if I'm going to serve, like, I want to be the best server that this table has had. And then with like competing, right? Like, I want to be my best version. So I think it's less of a dysmorphia and more of a, like, forever chasing a line, like a finish line, right? And like the closer I get, the further it also moves. So I'm always trying to be better. So I don't know, less of dysmorphia.
Do you have any trouble with like balancing, like, the lean look for competition versus off season, or
sometimes I feel like when I'm in the leanness, I'm like, I could be here forever, and then you're out of it and you're like, oh, I felt way better than I did before. And I think we just like forget what it feels like to have a little bit of body fat, because a little bit of body fat is healthy.
Yeah.
Right. And like, your nails are healthier, your hair is healthier, your skin's healthier. So I think we forget when we're in each of those phases what the other felt like. Because like being 7% doesn't feel good.
Yeah, no,
like,
I know.
It looks good and you're in control, but it doesn't feel physically good.
Yeah.
For most people. Maybe some like it. I don't know. But
I know that I've heard you have to feel comfortable feeling uncomfortable when you're.
Oh, definitely. Then that's something like I think a lot of us tell ourselves, that it's like, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah.
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 And also the prep brain, or it seems like a fogginess. It seems
sometimes, like sometimes I think
that doesn't sound like much fun.
It's just low carbs, I think.
Yeah. No, I think that would be tough. Personally, I don't think I could do it, because I need to eat.
So. You need to eat. Yeah, you need those cookies every so often.
Yeah, exactly. I was curious, do you cover your muscles when you're in public, or do you like to show them off? Assuming it's not cold outside.
Yeah, most of the time. Right now I'm wearing like 3 layers. No, I'm a keep covered kind of girl.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah. I wear like heavy sweaters or heavy t-shirts. I'll wear my boyfriend's t-shirts to the gym. Just like, I'm not showy, but I also think if I'm too distracted by my what I'm training, I like to be in my head a little bit more. It's like feeling the movement rather than like seeing the movement. Because on stage you don't have mirrors, right? So in order to flex into pose, like, you're not relying on a mirror, you're just relying on the feel. So if I can feel myself through a movement, I think I'll be better off.
Sure, that's cool.
Yeah.
Just while I'm thinking about it, I didn't ask you earlier on the coaching, but do you have a posing coach? Because I think your posing is really good.
I have used Kenny Wallach.
Yeah,
He's
he's
my
great.
favorite. Yeah. So I'll use
Yeah.
Kenny towards the end as well. Again.
Okay.
And then for my clients, my competing clients, I usually buy them 1 or 2 sessions, half-hour sessions with Kenny.
Great. Yeah. I actually spotted him at nationals too. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what you said. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
he's great.
That's great. My last question is just, is there anything that you'd like to bring up here that I neglected to address?
No, I think you're doing a great job. You've got some pretty awesome names up there, and so I'm happy to be added to the list.
Thank you so much. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. And I know you got pajamas on now, but could you do a quick flex for me?
Just a little quick.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'm all
Thank you.
bundled up.
And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and include your Instagram and Shane's
Awesome.
and your YouTube channel, because you do have a YouTube channel
I have a couple
too.
things on there. I'll get back to it eventually. Yeah.
And I'll include that in the description down at the bottom here. But thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it,
Yeah.
Alyssa.
Awesome. Thank you, David. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'll get this posted soon. But thanks again, and
Can't
I'll talk
wait.
to you soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.